was a tie, the last run. So we added up all the runs. 4:55 for Hawk, 4:56 for Hosoi. Christian Hosoi, the winner! Yeah! Christian!
As soon as I got on a board, it was like all I wanted to be was a pro skateboarder.
I definitely knew when we go to a contest, Christian was the guy to beat. There was no doubt.
There'll never be someone that rode a vert ramp like Christian did.
He's taken every standard trick in skateboarding and basically made them new tricks because nobody still can do them that way, you know?
Christian paved the way. There's nobody in this industry who can't say that Christian didn't pave the way.
In the late 1970s, skateboarding pioneers had taken their art to new heights. They caught the first airs, developed an innovative style based on surfing, and brought skating to never-before-seen levels of popularity. The top skaters became subculture celebrities. Skateboarding equipment, then mostly manufactured by toy companies, began to reflect the technical needs of serious skaters. And concrete skate parks brought it up all over the place, most notably in California. These skate parks became the training grounds for the next generation of skaters.
The first time that I saw Christian Hosoi that I can remember was at the Marina Del Rey skate park.
Christian grew up at Marina Skate Park.
I was taking him there skating. We were there a lot, so I saw the skate park wasn't, managed well. So I approached him and said I'd help him out.
He was there all day, every day, after school till it got dark, 9 or 10 at night.
Jay Adams and Shogo and everybody would come to the skate park and hang out, and I was like the little grommet at the time.
Looking at like me and Alva and Shogo and all of us, probably as his older guys that he looked up to.
As a young half-Asian skater, Christian especially looked up to the legendary Z-Team rider, Shogo Kubo.
If there's anyone I emulated, it was Shogo. So whatever he did, I thought was the coolest.
Christian emulated Shogo's smooth and aggressive style, and he even tried to look like him.
I remember him at the skate park when he would skate the brown balls, ripping, and I would tell him, man, go to the pool, man. He'd be like,
Even though I didn't skate the vert, when I was riding the Rust Bowls, I was gonna rip on everybody that came there. That was my determination, was to do the highest air in the Rust Bowl, to do the most extended invert and the highest frontside ollie in the Rust Bowls.
See, the first time I ever saw Christian was when he had a picture in Skateboarder magazine doing an ollie at Marina Brown Bowl. It just looked awesome, It looked like a little kid blasting. And a lot of people thought he was a girl.
It's just in the photo, it's like you see this, he had really long hair and he was really young, so.
Oh, is that a girl skater? That's awesome.
I was like, man, this was good.
I came to find out that it was a boy, obviously, and I was psyched just because I feel like, there's someone my age, doing something that I want to do. And
Surrounded by older skaters at the marina, Christian's skating developed quickly.
You know what? You got to skate the upper keyhole, Christian. You're coming up here today. And I went, all right, let's do it today. And then I learned airs 2 feet out, inverts hand on coping, frontside airs a foot out, all in one day. And that was it. That was the beginning of my life from being a grommet to becoming a man in a 11, 12-year-old body.
They hang out at the skate park for like 3 months, and I came back, and he'd be like, Shogo, come here, I gotta show you this. Like, what? He drags me up to the, keel, and it's just blasting channels, front side, back side, just doing huge airs, and This is within a few months.
Sure enough, Christian had learned all of his little tricks up in the keyhole pool. And that's kind of when his dominance started.
I had it dialed in like overnight, and then there was a Vans contest down at Del Mar Skate Ranch. I was so excited that I rode vert, and everybody knew me as some little kid riding the bowls. I'm gonna go win this thing. All I have to do is stay on.
He had style, he was young, and he was flying.
All I remember is being the happiest kid because I got first place.
It's like when he came on, it was kind of like this end of an era, you know what I mean? Skate parks were built and skate parks closed. And I think when Marina closed down and stuff, skateboarding was in a downward spiral. When you look back in those days, there was probably like around 30 to 50 hardcore skateboarders left. And Christian, I mean, he didn't have anything else to do, I don't think. You know, he was like 13 years old, 14 years old. And his old man like saw it the same way. I mean, Christian's gonna be this, you know, superstar skateboarder, even though in those days maybe it was superstar to 50 people.
The industry back then was really, really small.
The industry was pretty dead at the time, so we were at rock bottom.
Here's the good friends.
These guys are fucking scoring so low, I can't believe it.
Like there was no future, there was no career. You know what I mean? Some of us got sponsored, and that was cool because we got free stuff, but that was really the extent of it.
We were skating professional contests for $200 for first place. You know, traveling to Arizona, paying for rent-a-cars, hotels, plane fare, and then winning $200 and some photos in the magazine.
We started Thrasher in 1980-81, so you needed to put together a group of guys that you could make the industry happen again. And Christian, like, we looked at him as being like one of the things that could revitalize skateboarding. So he became a big part of Thrasher. He became a big part of bringing back skateboarding.
I wasn't thinking, you know, it might be a little bit too much responsibility. It might interfere with my schooling and taking me all over the country. I didn't think of those things. I just wanted to excel.
It became a real dilemma where I had to be able to decide whether to let him pursue this passion or keep him in school.
Christian, I think, was on the road like nonstop. I don't know when Christian went to school, if he ever went to school.
One day I went to pick him up at school and I said, "What is it?" He said, "Yep, I'm over this." I said, "Okay, we're over. School's out forever."
Skateboarding today is total involvement. Before it was after school. Now it's total.
All we said to each other was, "You tell Mom."
I think it fucking rips, dude.
They're taking too long. They should announce the winners. Let's go.
And I just remember there was a lot of
talk back then. This guy's going to be the guy. And he dropped out of school, and he was just dedicating his life to just ripping.
In 1961, Bonnie Cummings and Ivan Hosoi met and fell in love at college in Hawaii. They were married in 1963. To pursue Ivan's studies and career in fine art at the Chouinard School of Art, Bonnie and Ivan moved to Los Angeles. On October 5th, 1967, Bonnie Hosoi gave birth to their son, Christian Rasha Hosoi.
Ivan and Christian, their relationship, I think it went beyond the father and son. I mean, they were almost like brothers.
Crazy tight loyalty between the two.
They were inseparable, you know, as beings, as, you know, as creative entities.
They were brothers, man. They were brothers. They were tight as...
They were pretty tight.
I'd like to see people be that tight, you know what I mean? That understanding of
tight.
one another, you know?
Ivan, I believe, is from Hawaii, hanging out in Hawaii and just laid back and everything. And that's an aloha type deal, is just kick back and family and, you know, loving things. And
Ivan is a very highly developed, fine artist. It was all about the possibilities of it. And Christian, you know, had those conversations daily with Ivan. It had to inform him.
I always admired Ivan. He was real creative and real talented. And he did all the graphics and all these sculptures and paintings. To me, that always impressed me. We're around a real creative environment, you know?
Ivan didn't have much money. I think everything that he had, you know, whether it was gas money or food money or whatever, he like shared it with Christian. And that was just the way that he helped his son.
Ivan just, you know, he adores Christian. Not that I don't, but he adored him to the extent that he lived Christian's dreams with him. And he was so, so, so proud.
Hosoi rule. Are you related to him? Hosoi rule. Are you related to him?
Yeah, drive for him.
You're a chauffeur? Do you have a nice car?
There's only really a handful of parents that came out to the skate parks or the skate spots. You have to give both Frank, Hawk, and Ivan Hosoi like credit. The reason why their kids became as good as they were to become in skateboarding was because both of them, like, they learned the sport and they went out and helped their kids a whole lot. I mean, like, not only did they help their own kids, but they helped other kids.
Both those two fathers were with their kids every second. They said, you know, I'm going to raise my son. They knew who their kids were. They were with them. And to a certain extent, I suppose the sons reflect the fathers.
By 1981, Christian was eager to turn pro. At Powell, where he rode as an amateur, he was considered too young. The original Dogtown went out of business. Finally, Sims Skateboards sponsored Christian and gave him his own professional model. Inspired by Christian and Ivan's Japanese heritage, the Sims Hosoi featured rising sun graphics.
Sims was, you know, I made some money there, but they did a lot of promotional stuff with me, but then it kind of just got stale for a little bit. And that's when Alva came into the scene, and he's like, Christian, man, I want you to be riding for me. I want to give you a model, and I want you and me to go and do this company. And I want it to be the raddest thing. And
Skateboard pioneer Tony Alva is credited with catching the first air ever out of a swimming pool. He was the first active skater with his own company and marketed himself in ways skating had never seen.
we all respect Alva because he is one of the pioneers of why we do what we do. He's a legend. I just wanted to be affiliated with something that was real. You know, and that's what Tony came with. He came with something that was real, backyard, out of the garage. We're gonna start this from scratch. And I went, sounds good to me.
When we first got together, he came and we sat down and we said, what do you want to ride?
Wanted to be creative, and I wanted to have function in my board. I said, well, I do big aerials to tail. When my hand grabs the top, I'll make that flat. And I said, wouldn't it be nice if it cut in and came out? And for tail taps on PVC coping, my tail just slips off. Can't do tail taps, which was one of my favorite tricks. Came up with the swallowtail. Boom. And I go, I got this idea of swallowtail. He goes, killer, I got this idea of a diamond tail. I'm like, all right.
And he had ideas, I had ideas. We basically put it down.
We go down there, I draw mine on a cardboard, fish shape, flat nose, cut in fish. He drew his, it was a dolphin nose, cut in diamond tail. And we cut them out, designed them, and we both rode them.
It was an innovative shape because up till then, if you look in the magazines, every board was 10 by 30. Plain, regular looking boards.
And Christian said, Eddie, come on, you gotta quit, pal. Those guys suck, skate for the real guys, Alva. I'll be the pro, you'll be the amateur. We'll travel around the world, get chicks, and I was like, all right. So I quit the biggest company in the world, and I show it all worked out. But yeah, at the time I was all, thanks. I go, so let's go to this new factory. We go to this guy's house in Venice. It was a garage. A week later, I call Christian, let's go skate. He's like, yeah, well, by the way, I quit Alva. And all of a sudden, here I was on Alva all by myself.
Basically, we had a little bit of a conflict. It was pretty obvious my board was more functional. When he did an advertisement that went obvious superior design, when he held his finger up and pointed up and there was the fish shape up there and it was my design, I mean, we butted heads. I told him, you know what, I'm quitting. It's over. How can you disrespect me like that? But at the same time, it was a compliment. For TA to do that to me, I look back and I go, that's pretty sick. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start my own company. My dad said, that's a good idea. I said, Hosoi, skateboards. I said, you know what? I think it's gonna work. And I went, let's introduce the Hammerhead with Hosoi skateboards, and it was just, everything clicked at the time.
The fishtail with the Hammerhead. That's sick.
He had a lot of success with that board.
I had one of those.
I had one of the Hammerheads.
I skated the Hammerhead.
I rode the street one.
Did I?
I was riding for Vision, but I was taking all the Hosoi stuff out of the store.
If anyone can run it, Christian can, because he's got the confidence, he's got the flair to bring something like that out. If it was some other pro skater at the time, I don't think I could have ran it.
That one shape, fucking everybody copied that.
Weird shapes and weird tails, and it's like, here you have a Bill Danforth board, and it's got this big old white-ass tail on it, and weird shape. And
these call them money bumps.
Money bumps?
Some of it was functional, some of them weren't. Some of them, there was some parts to them that were functional, and other shapes were just people just trying to make something that looked a little bit crazy, thinking it would sell good,
But did it give your board flair and give your board personality? And every time you stepped on that board, you knew that was your board, and everyone that rode your boards, you could spot everybody's board a mile away. Well, that's a Fingers Murray model, that's a Hammerhead, or that's a fucking Lucero board, that's a Grasso board, that's a Nightmare model or whatever. Did a lot for skateboarding, And I think without Christian, that whole era would not have taken place like it did.
1980, there was definitely a change in skateboarding, and the pros that had been there, everyone pretty much knew the same tricks, and it was how they were done. And in 1980, there came a boom of progression of tricks. And in that progression of tricks, skateboarding, I believe, went in two directions. It went very focused on tricks. However you do them, just get them done, make them. And the other one went in rebellion of that is this is all theatrics and style.
These two schools of thought were perfectly personified by Tony Hawk and Christian Hosoi.
You know, early on, people pitted us against each other because they wanted to choose. They sort of had their camp. You know, it was either technical tricks that they were gunning for me, or they were into the flow, the style of going big, and that was Christian's deal.
The progression of skateboard tricks reached a benchmark in 1984. While traveling in Sweden, Powell Peralta skater Mike McGill developed a groundbreaking new trick, a staggering 540-degree rotation that would have seemed inconceivable just a few years earlier.
I remember when I was skating, I was thinking, fuck, what else can you do? You know, and then 5 years later, whoa, shit.
Named after McGill, the 540 McTwist was the biggest trick skateboarding had ever seen.
McGill wasn't known to be the most innovative guy, so when he came up with the 540, you know, those guys were in Sweden when he did it. He kept it totally secret, and then he came home from Sweden, went straight into this Del Mar contest and busted it out and blew everyone away.
Right when I started Hosoi skateboards, 540 was huge. You know, when you came to watch skateboarding, all you'd hear is McTwist, McTwist, McTwist. We want to see a McTwist, you know, and that they didn't care about anything else.
He and I, we had to learn it.
I mean, a lot of guys were trying to learn it. Caballero, Christian, Lance. I mean, that was a trick you had to do because you couldn't win a contest without it.
I spent 2 months doing it over and over and over at Del Mar, falling, slamming, bailing until I finally stuck it.
Christian's road to the 540 was no easier.
He took a lot of hits on that one. He slammed it because he was doing it higher and he was trying to do it better than McGill.
When I learned 540s, like, my 540s were straight up spinning, you know, like, just on this axis, like this. And his 540s were like straight up, upside down, flopping over, doing a flip, you know what I mean? It was like, he did it properly.
Through the amateur days, he was still young and didn't have all that much power. So even though he would do pretty well, he didn't dominate it. He was beatable, you know what I mean? And even as young, in his young pro days, he was beatable. But then there was this one, I don't know exactly when it started, but it just became him and Tony.
Tony Hawk was a young, skinny kid.
He was kind of lanky and his body was shaped a little different than Christian. Christian had that lower center of gravity where he would just flow, you know. And
I was, you know, really small for my age. I didn't have the strength necessarily that Christian might have when he was growing up, and I just couldn't blast.
In order for Tony to do the high airs, he had to kind of scoop his tail and throw it up there and grab it late.
My solution was to ollie into my airs, and no one had done that yet.
And that kind of turned into be a whole revolutionary style of skating where you could be lighter on your board, and Tony was doing these, kicking his foot off and finger flips and varials and really light on his feet in the air. Every contest he had a new trick that no one had ever done before.
he had to learn that next trick or, you know, learn that extra spin, you know what I mean?
Well, the hardest thing for me is not only was I skinny, then as I grew, I just got skinnier and lankier, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I grew up and suddenly I filled out. I just got longer and skinnier, and then people were like, oh man, now he looks even worse.
Robotical.
Like a robot.
Sort of robot.
Circus tricks.
Trickster.
Making up tricks.
He was like a machine.
A real contest machine.
Quick.
Trick to trick to trick.
You almost ended up not liking him because he had all these tricks that you couldn't do. And you used that, he didn't have any style against him. So on Christian's hand, all style.
Christian had more of a traditional style where he was just speed lines carving and flying as high and stylish as he could.
His whole ride was his trick.
You can see the silhouette of Christian from blocks away and know it's him.
He did the best 540s in the book.
He'd get on the ramp and just do maybe 5 airs in a row, and that was sometimes much more exciting than seeing the crazy stuff that Tony Hawk was doing. Not to take anything away from Tony Hawk, but Christian just, he shook the ramp. You know what I mean?
As one of the very last skate parks left standing in the mid-'80s, Del Mar Skate Ranch was the site of many legendary pro contests, including the famous showdowns between Christian Hosoi and Tony Hawk. Del Mar also happened to be Tony Hawk's home park.
I think back and those are some of the best skateboarding memories I have.
That's some of the greatest history of skateboarding. The Hawk Hosoi War, Del Mar. It's insane.
There were like odds on us. People were making bets.
Throughout the 80s, their rivalry continued, pushing each other and skating to new heights.
Who do you think won, Hawk? Man. 455 for Hawk, 456 for Hosoi.
I'm glad to see that skateboarding has gone so far.
Definitely. This is the ultimate. People saw the way that he skated, and that made them want to jump on a skateboard.
Hosoi is doing these demos now on his own, not with the company. Everybody used to do company demos for free, and you go on these companies, and you hear Hosoi is like, he got flown into New York, and he got a limo and showed up to do this demo, and he got $1,000. You're like, what? We're in a station wagon driving around the United States for free.
I'm your idol, the highest title, numero uno. I'm not a Puerto Rican, but I'm speaking so that you know. And understand I got the gift of speech, and it's a blessing.
As the industry grew, financial opportunities for skaters grew proportionately. Along with Hosoi skateboards, prize money, and demos, Christian had sponsorship deals with independent trucks, OJ2 wheels at Santa Cruz, Swatch watches, Converse shoes, and Jimmy Z clothing. At that point, Christian was the highest paid skater in history. earning several $100,000 a year.
You make a really
It's a
good,
good living.
actually. You know, I mean, you can't say it's bad when you know, skateboarding, traveling.
He was the first one to really break through and was marketable enough to be able to go in front of a camera and have enough, like, you know, charisma and style and speak, you know.
What's up with that and shit? Damn.
And he did a great job, and there was a whole segment of the market that just went, wow, Hosoi is on Jimmy Z, fantastic. And, you know, it obviously meant a lot to us.
Everything he touched, you know, turned to gold.
He just knew what to do, when to do it. I mean, he was the perfect guy you wanted on your team.
That was the marketability. It seemed like Christian was so marketable.
He was like his own agent, his own manager, his own entrepreneur, and he was the athlete. He was everything. He was like Prince.
He was like the Bruce Lee of skateboarding.
He's like the Jimi Hendrix of the skateboard.
He knows how to make himself look good. You know what I mean? Like when he's up there at the top of the ramp and he's gonna go for his run, like at the Blaisdell contest, he's standing up there and he got the whole crowd going. He's just like jumping up there. I mean, he was listening to some gay ass music, but he had the crowd going. What was he listening to? It was Wild Thing. Tone Loc.
Let's do it.
In our minds, we were like, oh man, he's showing off, you know. But then again, when I look back on it, that was awesome. That was amazing that someone came out and did that and got people fired up like that, and it made you remember him, that's for sure.
The thing about Christian is Christian had this incredible charisma. He could have been an actor.
Some people from the outside might be like, oh, he's like, you know, this guy that wants to be in the spotlight to show off. But Christian could give a shit if nobody was looking, he'd be doing the same thing.
I'm feeling much better now, bros.
He had no illusions about what he was doing and who he was. He didn't have insecurities. And that was really off-putting to a lot of us because, you know, here he is just strutting. It was like, who the fuck are you, man?
Christ. I mean, who's the hell's gonna call somebody Christ and get away with it? And dude got away with it and it was beautiful.
Right before the contest, we'd always go sneak off to the side and smoke a joint or something.
Go out in the alley in the car with his dad. I don't know if I should say that. They'd roll one up and fucking smoke a big old green joint right before the contest.
They'd be calling his name. Next up, Christian Hosoi. He'd be underneath the ramp puffing.
He'd be so fucking stoned, man, and then he'd go in there and just kill it.
Because he was laughing and he was talking and he was making jokes as he's skating and woo, woo, woo,
The sound effects, Bruce Lee sound effects in midair.
Like yelling for himself, cheering for himself, basically.
I never mistook his confidence for ego, you know, and that's that it takes class.
And Hosoi was a winner. He was the best. He was the most natural skater. He progressed to a place where he was going the highest over everybody. He was putting on the best show.
Like he definitely always set himself apart from everybody else for sure.
He's inspired a lot of skateboarders to want to become more than just a skateboarder or an athlete. You know, he's given them confidence that we're bigger and better than just average athletes.
You know that fucking beef, is skateboarding art, is skateboarding a sport? The closest thing to art and skateboarding, I think, would be Christian Hosoi.
One word, style to burn. I remember he showed up, man, he had a green spot in his hair.
He had a polka dot hairdo going then.
He had blonde hair, he had green hair, he had the longest hair I've ever seen. I saw Christian one day and, you know, he had sort of almost shoulder length hair. And then a week later I see him and he's got hair almost down to his ass. And I was like, what is that? Oh yeah, hair extensions. Hair extensions? Are you kidding me?
Hosoi was the funniest guy ever to me.
He never put on a t-shirt and wore it normally. He would cut it at the edge and he'd start ripping it around in a circle. And then he'd take what he ripped off and cut it and like tie it around his wrists. And then he'd put the sleeve on his head and like Next thing you know, it was like an outfit.
Oh, dude, there's so many versions of a headband you can get from a sleeve.
I remember he'd have like 3 or 4 sunglasses on at once, like, and the ones that were on his eyes didn't even have lenses in there.
We're dirty, sweaty, bloody skateboarders, you know? But somehow Christian can do all of that and still look good and be fashionable.
His whole presence went beyond just skateboarding. They didn't just see him as a skateboarder, they saw him as a fashion icon.
He'd like, where are we going? Then he'd have to go get the wardrobe for that, you know?
You know, he always wore like, you know, sort of club looking shit. His shirt was always outfit.
He always wore the vest with no shirt and the cowboy boots and jeans. That was his staple. Going out outfit, that was his thing. And it was hot, he rocked it.
I'm a splurger, so I spend my money on clothes. I buy shoes, clothes, jewelry.
I remember going to Germany once, and I was kind of like hanging out with some of my friends, and they're on Hosoi's team, Rockets. It was a rocket wheel team, and he went into this leather shop, and the whole team was there, just hanging out, waiting for him, and he's shopping, buying a jacket, and he's just, whoa, get one for everyone, you know, like, and all these dudes walk out with white leather jackets.
I mean, he had more leather jackets than anyone I ever known.
Homie showed up from like partying all night, had like a white leather coat on, no shirt on, like white pants, white shoes.
White cowboy boots with, you know, a pink shirt.
3 shirts, 2 pairs of shorts with pants over them, 5 watches.
No shirt, shirt hanging off his head, shirt hanging out of his back pocket, shirt tucked in, 3 shirts tucked in, flying around like a cape.
It's just like he had the stuff flowing behind him.
Like streamers coming off of him, you know? And I asked him, I said, doesn't that get in your way? He goes, well, no, it actually kind of just, it accentuates your skateboarding. It's like something, you know, trailing behind you like a flame or something.
He was like infamous for getting away with anything. Like, if there was something that you weren't supposed to do, Christian would do it, and it would be okay, because it was Christian.
When we walked into one of the stores on Hay Street, now there's like those painter caps, and it had a pink logo, BAM, with a like splash. And he's like, BAM! He puts it on, and he's like, ugh! And I was like, laughing. He's like, what do you think? And I was like, looks good on you.
I remember when he was riding for Jimmy Z, and he'd have boxes of clothes at his mom's house. And we'd go there, we'd try and get in some of the boxes, and there'd be like boxes of girls' clothes, like pink pants and like short knicker pants and all kinds of crazy gear, like fluorescent green, maybe a bunch of spandex. You know what I mean? And he was just sporting them. We're like, what's up with those?
To me, I thought it was like surf and fitness or something. You know what I'm saying?
You're like, whoa, this guy's wild.
I mean, think about it. Skateboarders wearing spandex. That shit was a fad back then. And Christian set it up. I didn't do that, Christian, but you set it up.
Slash in 2004 would walk up in some spandex, you know what I mean? And get away with it. There's not too many people that can. Slash could. Christian Hosoi can get away with whatever he wants.
Like if you're looking at the fans of skating, they were sort of divided in, they liked my style or they liked Christian style. You know, they were more into the technical. Or if you looked at the girls that liked skating, they all like Christian.
The girls loved him, swarmed on him.
Yes, the girlies were always prevalent, always.
Most girls just came and went. I'd meet them and then I'd never see them again.
When I was that age, I don't think I knew anyone that had that aura and confidence and swagger about them.
He stole all the girls.
I mean, he would walk in a club, and I mean, fucking bitches would drop their pants. They're just going, this shit is live.
I don't know, maybe it was his hair or something.
He's tan and, he's got that kind of Hapa Haole, he's part Asian, part, white, part Hawaiian. I mean, he's a handsome kid.
I mean, he's beautiful in a really masculine kind of way.
He could dance, he could be suave, he could be funny.
Christian was a flirt.
Where are you from?
Virginia Beach.
Ooh, right on.
Oh, my sister, she loves to do something dramatic.
This one time when I was 15, Christian's like, come on over to the hotel. I'm gonna be up in the jacuzzi. And I get up there and it's Christian by himself with like 7 chicks. And Holmes has got a towel on his head. I was 15, I was just like, oh yeah, Christian's so stoked. And forgot about having to go to school and stuff and stayed with him. And yeah, I almost got kicked out of school because of Christian.
Let's just say that I was lucky to have skating in my life because it finally gave me something that was desirable to girls. You know what I mean? Christian never really needed his skating style to be desirable to girls. He already had it. And then once he became one of the best skaters in the world, girls just came. You know what I mean? He didn't have to put out any effort at all.
The first time I saw Christian was on the boardwalk in Venice. It was about the end of '87.
Christian's most serious relationship to that point was with actress and model Luana Rawls, daughter of famed singer Lou Rawls.
You know, Christian is an artist. He's a poet, you know? I mean, there's so many other things to him besides the skateboarding.
We all knew her. She came up and man, she was so fine. She had flavor, and it was like, of course Christian got her.
They were such like the Sid and Nancy of skateboarding.
Christian felt like if he wasn't at the club, he was missing out on something.
He probably went out more than me. And I went out 8 days a week.
He was living in Hollywood, and he was a god.
Him going straight through the line, and there's 1,000 people waiting outside, and because he's a skateboarder?
Like 16, 17 years old.
I don't know, he had such a charisma about him, and just, you know, he'd walk in, light the place up, and, buy drinks, and everyone would just have a great time.
No matter where he went, he knew everybody.
The first time I went out to a club was with Christian. Snuck me in with Drew Barrymore and Matthew Broderick.
Anthony Kiedis is running up and saying what's up to him, and you know, like, holy shit, that's our boy.
I mean, he took me out to a bar one night, and I'm fucking sitting there with Eddie Murphy. I'm like, you know, he had to tell him I was like this rich, eccentric guy just to get me into the club because I wouldn't put pants on.
You kind of felt cool riding the coattails of Christian when he'd roll into the club, you know what I mean? Because, you know, he had that thing. He'd walk into the room and everybody would be like, oh, that's Christian Hosoi, wow.
That flash, that movie star, you know, like they were the first rock stars of skateboarding, you know, whether people like it or not. He rolled through and you're like, dude is a rock star.
He was a rock star.
Straight up rock star.
The rock star.
Rock star. Rock star. Rock star.
Rock star. Rock star.
Rock star.
And he was perfect candidate for it.
With unheard of amounts of money coming in, and with no end to it in sight, Christian began to spin. He traveled in style, treated his friends, and he rented the luxurious former home of actor W.C. Fields.
What's happening?
Hey, what it is, homie?
Wow,
All
time to shred.
That's my doc, Christian Hosoi. He's one of the freshest vert skaters alive.
Like, I rent a house instead of buying it because I don't feel like living in one house for so long.
We had this thing going that if you're not going to save your money and go for the retirement thing, right? You're going to live it right to the edge, then that's what it's going to be.
Seeing my dad as an artist, how there wasn't any desire for money. Money came last, and when he told me about artists like Van Gogh, Picasso, and those guys who started out, I mean, Picasso was successful, but Van Gogh never sold a painting. It's what you're creating and not what you're gonna, get out of it matters the most.
Yeah, I just went to his house, big house, vert ramp. He's like at the top of the hill. There's probably 4 cars or something in the driveway. And that's when he had his girlfriend then, She came out. She came out in like a bikini top. I was like 15. She's like, just calls him in like, Christian, something, I was like, oh my God, look at this guy's setup right now.
My time to wanna start
like my second house.
Kind of like lived up there.
Go over there first thing in the afternoon, go out there, have lunch, and hang out there until the end of the day.
A typical day up there was skateboarding, pool table, swimming in the pool, jumping in the pool off the roof.
We'd session all day, skate all day, and
I remember I'd get there sometimes kind of early, and he'd stroll out in his robe and slippers.
He'd always make his appearance.
When he skated, though, everybody kind of stopped and watched.
Hosoi Skateboards started a joint venture at Santa Cruz, producing hammerhead skateboards and creating Hosoi rocket wheels.
I started sponsoring guys like Monty Nolder, Sergi Ventura, Bowie Keita, Johnny Kopp.
You know, Christian had an extended family of everyone that skated for him. You know, when I was just kind of coming up in the amateur ranks, he was a guy that, you know, just kind of like saw something in me and just like said, you know what, I like the way you skate, you know, I like that you're half Asian. He was, you know, very into his culture and his roots.
He was seriously like my big brother.
The way they did their videos and the way everybody had longer hair and just more of a lifestyle kind of thing was really what Hosoi Skates was all about.
I mean, I really liked the way he set his team up because it was a whole package. You had to skate their style, you had to dress their style, and you know, you had to be a sharp-looking dude, and their whole team was on. You know, and we sort of like looked at them all the time going, oh, there's a Hollywood team.
Christian's team riders all started to look like Christian as time went by. No matter who rode on his team, eventually they would look like Christian.
Hosoi was more of a traveling party with him being the leader, buying the food, doing the things, getting everyone like, come on.
Christian was a star, making a lot of money. Everybody wanted him everywhere. Every weekend, he could be at any town, anywhere in the world.
Going from Texas to Canada to
Europe, Australia, Japan.
France a couple times, Belgium, Germany.
Man, we'd all fill our pockets with weed, hop on the plane, like go in the bathroom.
We'd be going to Hawaii all the time, riding wallows and all the spots, ditches and pools out there with Cully and the boys.
Christian paid for most of us, almost all of us to go. And we stayed in a hotel, and all of us, you know, like we'd have a one bed hotel, and there'd be like 15 of us in there. We'd stay like maybe 2 weeks. By like the third day, the maids refused to clean our room.
Jumping in Lincoln Town cars, just having endless fatties to smoke.
You know, we would go, in the morning we'd get up and go to some like big ass cliff and jump off this 70-foot cliff, and then we'd go, next morning we'd get up and go pick mushrooms out of the cow patches and go climb up some crazy mountain that we could like kill ourselves on. Then we go, every day skating was involved. And then, you know, we'd hang out at the beach, and at night we'd go out every night and party and have a good time, and just, it was just, every day it was just an adventure. It was just, I mean, it's probably like the funnest time of my life.
People in Hawaii, they claimed him as theirs.
He was like a god there, you know what I mean? All the skaters there just idolized him, and that was like his homeland in a weird way.
International session.
Through Christian's travels, he became the era's premier ambassador for skateboarding, exposing the style and lifestyle of skating to people all around the world.
If it wasn't for Christian coming to Brazil and showing them what was up, they wouldn't even know that that shit was possible.
I love the pool, I love the weather, I love the people, the food's good, the weather reminds me of Hawaii. I liked the party last night, the carnival party, and I liked it so much that I think I might want to stay another week.
While Christian Hosoi and his generation of vert pros were pushing the limits on ramps and in pools, a whole new school of skating was developing in the streets.
They're like, yeah, there's this hot little kid skater down the street. I'm like, cool, let's check him out. Watch, he ollies all the way up this ledge. I'm like, cool, let's check it out. He come down, boom, ollie up the ledge, and it was the raddest thing we saw because it was something new and different. And it made me do it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that too. Boom!
One night we were all out there skating a little jump ramp, and Christian Hosoi came up, and he's all, check this out. And we all stood back, and he did a stationary ollie. And from that moment, changed skating forever.
It was kind of like the 540 in vert. It was mind-boggling. And that's when street skating just started opening up full bore, full wide open. You know, Nada started ollieing up a picnic table.
In this surge of innovation, Venice Beach became a magnet for some of the best skaters in the world.
On an average day in Venice, it was me, Murray, Dressen, Christian, Jesse Martinez. Nodis would come down sometime. And all the different other, Venice Breakwater locals that would come and hang and skate with us. Every day we were down there and we were kind of holding down the boardwalk.
Just terrorize on the beach all day. Puff fatties and, fire off water balloons at tourists.
Well, we skated, everything we could.
Well, basically the terrain is what was here. The pit and the walls and whatever we had.
Putting the ramp up against the wall and then taking it off the wall and jump ramping and then building a quarter pipe up to this vert wall, and then we started riding off the side of the jump ramps on the walls and riding the walls.
That was all kind of new.
Street skating came in and jump ramps were happening. Venice Beach was booming.
Literally, you can go down there any day of the week and you were getting a demo by the best skaters in the world.
One guy do something rad, yeah, and then the next guy do something even radder, yeah. Yeah. Oh! Everyone's ripping, then go ripping, then this fully ripping,
I'm hitting it backside, now I'm hitting it front side, Then later we try to hit the top.
That was the beginning of what we called at the time the street revolution.
That's the reason why we did street skate too.
Just that whole Venice street scene, everybody, they were the best.
I mean, he has more influence on all the street skaters than any other street skater in skateboarding has ever had.
In the early street contests, Christian performed well, winning or placing highly in almost every event. While he faced stiff competition in both vert and street, no one skater was as competitive in both.
Early 90s, it became street skating only. Vert is dead is what the magazine covers were.
Skating always went through cycles of popularity, so we kind of expected that it was gonna, take a dip, but we just didn't know that our style of skating was gonna be so uncool as well. We could see that the sky was falling.
My generation came up and we took over.
It was like, next chapter. It's kind of a weird time period for all vert skaters, I think, around that time period, when street skating was kind of coming up. Almost all the vert ramps and skate parks got tore down. There wasn't a lot out there for vert skaters to even ride, even let alone try to make a living off doing it, kind of. All the pro vert guys really didn't have nothing going. Tony Hawk was nearly bankrupt with Birdhouse. Tony Hawk didn't even have a pro model.
So it was like, if you're a vert skater, you better do something spectacular, or you better, look for a job doing demos at SeaWorld. That's how it was.
That's what you were doing.
No, I wasn't doing that. Six Flags.
For how much? How much did they pay?
I went and did demos at Six Flags for a week, 3 demos a day, $100 a day.
Yeah, what's it like to say, hey, you're the best in the world, man, you're the greatest. But not today, not anymore. It's these guys now. And then you're up there going, who are these guys? Riding around on picnic tables and stuff like that, I mean, we're the real deal. We've been here forever. We're it. We're the shit. You can't take this from us.
Doesn't matter, they took it.
I didn't know how to fucking deal with it at all. And I didn't have it like Christian. You know, I was a lesser than player kind of off in the shadows. I was confetti for the party. He was the party.
You gotta look at reality. You gotta look at, hey, do I need to get a job? You know, or can I really make this work?
Man, I got a job as a waiter. It was really weird, like going from, you know, traveling and getting paid for doing this, and then just, boom, nothing.
And what are we gonna do with our fucking lives now, you know? And the only way I could cope was climbing into a booze bottle and self-medicating.
You want me to tell you how I got off of Santa Cruz? They cut me on speed wheels. They cut my pay on OJ, and they said, you're only gonna make $1,500 a month, Christian, for the next 6 months to a year. So you better move out of your house and sell your ramp, you know? And I said, fucking what?
Well, after I left Santa Cruz, I had my house in Hollywood. I had my ramp. I had, you know, when I moved out of my house, money's not rolling in right now. There was a little frustration there. I sold all my, you know, motorcycles, you know, the Harley, the cars, house, my ramp, my car. When me and Luana broke up, it wasn't my skateboarding abilities were there. I was winning events. I'm gonna move in with my mom. When I was living with my mom at that time, every day, every morning after dropping my mom off at work, time and place for change. Skate for the day, come back by 5 to pick my mom up. I was sitting there trying to come up with a new plan. Went to the drawing board. I was career driven. I wanted to come up with ideas. I wanted to have advertisement campaigns. I wanted to have a team. I wanted to go out and promote a company. Let's start Skate Culture Rising. I want to do a skateboard company. I'm like, really? No, skateboard goods. I just went, you want to start a company? You want to do something? I have an idea. Never being defeated, get back up on my feet. There was never a time when I thought, get over it. It's not working. I always thought there was something else gonna work.
I went on this MTV trip and I had like about 3,000 names and addresses of little kids. Basically, I had to sign waivers to skate on this MTV thing we're doing cross country. And I was writing these kids back, you know, telling them about Public, my skate company. And this guy comes over and he's all, check this out, and he had a little powder, it was speed. And I never really liked that shit, you know? But I did it, and all of a sudden I spent 2 days happy writing these letters to these kids, 2,000s of them, boom. And I told Christian, Christian, you gotta come over, you know, I got some octane. And he's all, what's octane? And I was like, you'll find out. So he came by, and Christian's all, yeah, this is good. And after that, I wish it wouldn't happen, because the next day he called me up, hey Eddie, I wanna buy some of that stuff.
What's happening, bro? Christian really had nothing going. His mom moved back east, his dad was in Hawaii.
Huntington Beach, Chicken and Kelly opened up their pools in '91. And they invited me down to come and skate their pool. And it was almost like skateboarding was revitalizing again. Pools were back. Skateboarding is booming. Street skating is huge.
Christian basically moved down Huntington Beach, got involved in the whole scene.
The Huntington Beach scene is now starting to blow up. Clubs are starting to pop off.
We had friends that had a house here, all within skating distance. Everybody was DJs, ran the clubs, dealt the drugs, did something with skateboarding. So everything was just so convenient. It was like we had our own little utopia of just a party scene.
Hello, focus. Yeah, hold on. It's for you, Brian.
And Focus was their baby. They had all kind of moved on from Alva and, you know, Hosoi from Santa Cruz, and kind of came back together as a bunch of friends and decided that this was going to be their vehicle.
We didn't have any money, but we had a lot of heart and soul, and everybody was down with us, you know? We were doing the right thing.
And they were just raging, out of control.
Basically, we started the company. I'm maybe doing meth a little bit here and there. It was starting off where you do a line a day, a couple lines a day, you know, and it was no big deal.
It's not like you just straight out of the gate you're going for it. It's a progressive disease. It starts out slow and kind of eases its way up.
And there's a point when you're sniffing crystal methamphetamine and then you start smoking crystal methamphetamine. There's that transition that I had, okay, where I was now not getting enough out of sniffing it because it was just sniffing it to get, you know, it was like coffee. You sniff it for coffee. You start diving into it more in depth, where before it was just something you were dependent on. Now it was something you love to do because you see the way that people are on it.
Everybody was getting pretty tossed up around that time period too, you know what I mean?
We were partying all night, there was a million girls.
Sleep all day, skate for like the last 2 hours of light, maybe. Just, you know, do speed all night, you know.
I needed his help. I needed to get on the phone, talk to certain people, and he just was like, I'm the skater. I gotta go skate, you know, and that's cool, but he wasn't out skating, he was just out there raging, partying.
The company never really made money. A lot of times it didn't even get the product made. It was like people from Japan or whatever send money to get stuff made. These guys would get the money and think, oh, we got money, and then they just blow it all, you know?
The word that was coming back that I was hearing was, you know, he was starting to, you know, party and starting to do stuff that, you know, he didn't really do.
You know, you'd hear, just like with anybody, you only believe half of it, but you say half of it could definitely be true.
All that money, it's easy to party. Something bad happens, party. Bored, party. Got something good happen in your life, fucking celebrate, party. After a while, that shit wears on you, and you get yourself caught up doing shit that you wouldn't normally be doing, and fucking consequences come.
Oh my god, we need to buy this first. We gotta have endurance and stuff. I need orders for fucking 2,000 shirts from our plant. See?
Even by 94 or so, you know, he was already getting, you know, just swallowed up by the whole speed thing.
Gotta get organized.
I don't know what the fuck was going on, who he was hanging out with, but you know, if they were skateboarders, they should have checked themselves before they let him get like that.
I was hanging out with guys that were running like the drugs in that area, and so I was able to get a lot of it for free, and we all started doing the stuff, just mass amounts.
He'd start hanging out with people who were just like his yes people. He'd basically kiss his ass, and they were just feeding him speed, getting him deeper into it. You would never hang out with these people if you weren't high. What are you doing? Like, you'd rather hang out with them than hang out with us? We're your family. What are you doing? He was just hanging out with people that were just drug addicts.
We'd show up some random house to get some weed or something, you know, and like we'd go in and just be like dark, like little dungeon, and like all like, you know, like to be some weed dealer in there and some weird other shit going on, some heroin or something, you know, and then Christian would be in there to sit on the couch or something, you know, and you'd be like, whoa, like, what's up, Christian? Like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean?
But I would stay, you know, functional. I wouldn't let, if my face changed or if I had like the signs that I was looking like I was on drugs, I wouldn't do anymore. I would, you know, stop.
This is Legend Session, I guess. TA, Hackett, J-Boy.
He looked like he hadn't seen the fucking sunshine in like, you know, weeks, and I could just tell that in his eyes, I could see it in his eyes and his body posture, that he wasn't the same Christian.
It was kind of hard to tell. You know, if you knew him for a long time, you could be like, oh, Christian doesn't look like himself. But, I mean, he was so gifted that, like, all he had to do was, you know, a head high Christ there, and you're like, oh, he must be all right.
Holmes just had this endurance where he could just keep going.
Speed is a drug where, you know, some people can't handle doing it, and some people can. Some people can do a little, and some people can't. They have to do as much as they got until it's gone, and then they crash.
Me, I'll consume everybody's shit that's around me, you know, and that's how it affected me.
I wish I was one of those guys. I was the guy who could do a little and take it or leave it, but I would do a little in a consistent manner.
I don't think anybody or any one of his friends ever wanted to believe that like anything could overpower him. You know what I'm saying? Like Like, I don't think anybody wanted to believe that Christian had addictions, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think everybody just was like, oh, it's Christian, he's fine, he's been doing this forever. Like, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong.
In 1995, Christian Hosoi, Tony Hawk, Omar Hassan, and others traveled to Japan together for a series of demos for a large chain of Japanese shops.
The demo's going on, me and Wade and Tony are like skating. Tony's ripping, doing 720s, doing all this gnarly tricks back then, you know.
He would just sort of cruise around and talk to people and then go get in the van and change his wheels and change his trucks and come back, and it was just not the Christian I knew at all.
Maybe got like 10 minutes of the demo.
Anytime we went to an event and Christian was with us, you know, you're on Christian time. You're gonna leave an hour later than you're supposed to leave, and you gotta keep knocking on the door to wake him up, and you know, and it was just, and that's just how he was. But when he finally came around and we'd go to the event, he would rip. And then the last time I went to Japan in 1995, the guy never slept. You know, we'd knock on his door and he'd open the door, he's sitting on the bed. You know, the bed's made. I could tell it was just the drugs were affecting him. This was the year of the first X Games, and they did profiles on all the guys that they thought were hot or, you know, deserved attention, and I had a profile for the first X Game. Christian had a profile for the first X Games.
They wanted to make Christian their Tony Hawk.
They came to the Focus Factory and did a big interview on Christian and Tony. These were the rivalry guys, exactly, the big 80s stars.
I guess when they showed up and they did it, it just looked so bad. He was all gray and it just wasn't looking good and wasn't really making sense.
The guys now are just going off.
And I think in his mind at the time, you know, oh, they did my profile, I already got coverage. I don't need to show up.
Somebody started to point it out to me like, yeah, he's not gonna go here because he might not have speed with him.
And he's like, no, bro, I'm just gonna stay here. And he just stayed in Japan and never went to the X Games. And that was the last time I saw him.
No one really knew how big the X Games was going to be. It just seemed like another contest, but because it hadn't happened yet. But it really was a big media circus that turned it all around. And all these cameras and all this excitement, this is Christian's deal. This is where the thing that could really bring him out of his slump and get him back on track.
You know, and he would have showed up, he would have gone at least 2 or 3 feet higher than everyone else, and he would have stood out.
You know, Tony's there. I think Tony took the gold that year. And every year after, Christian never went to any of these big X Games events. And I think Tony went on to make millions and millions of dollars, and Christian easily could have made that much money too if he would have came back with me on the flight, you know, and got to that first X Games.
From what I know, he ended up staying in Japan another like week until the people who sent us there told him he had to leave his hotel. They're like, you're done with your obligations to us. You have to go.
He disappeared for 4 months, hung out with a guy, and I guess the guy ended up spending $40,000 on him, on drugs and the life, you know. So that kind of ruined him worse.
You can't continue with life and be on those kinds of drugs because it wipes your life away. And the only people you can hang out with are other people who are into the same drug because nobody wants to hang out with you. All those people become thieves. They end up getting their ass beat. They screw people over. I mean, it's not a generalization, it's just a fact. That's what happens when people go down and they end up on crystal meth or whatever. Nobody wants to hang out with tweakers.
There'd always be another house or another crew that would be like, come over here.
And when that dried out, you'd go to another darker place, you know?
I didn't care. I had a car. You know, I had, you know, a ton of friends' houses to stay at the time.
You know, I'd see him for a week here and there, then I wouldn't see him for like 3 months. Then I didn't see him for a while, then that's when he showed up at my house in San Diego. I think he had like 1 duffel bag left, and that was like his worldly possessions at that moment, like 1 duffel bag, you know what I mean? And I had like 3-day-old pizza and like peanut butter, and that's the only thing I had in my fridge. I remember this shit. And he's eating it, and you know, and Chris is acting like, oh, this is why I do this all the time, like, woo!
I'm sitting there listening to people talk bad about him, calling him a tweaker. He's just this, that, all he does is that.
Like Flies, sunglasses, they love Christian, you know? But they were locking the doors when they saw Christian, you know? I mean, that hurt me.
And it used to piss me off, you know, because I didn't see him as just that. You know, I was like, this is Christian Hosoi, dude. You guys are freaking tripping, you know? Quit talking shit about him. And then I started realizing, like, this is all he's showing them.
Christian started having some problems with the law, getting arrested 2 different times for possession of crystal methamphetamine.
It seemed like every time he got in a brush with the law, he would never follow up on it.
Me and a couple other guys, we put in some money and tried to help him out of it, and he didn't show up to the court date.
And he called me, you know, pretty much every time he got busted, trying to get bail money and trying to help him out, to get him out of jail or whatever. And every time, you know, I never really made an effort to get bail money for him because I kind of hoped that maybe it would shock him a little bit and open his eyes up to what he was doing, you know?
He would get a bail bonds and the guy to bail him out, but then he'd never go back to court to get it straightened out. And they were minor offenses, you know, little stuff. But because he didn't follow up on it, now all of a sudden he's got these bounty hunter guys looking for him. 95, 96, he just had to stay underground.
I was living on the streets. I was homeless, I was strung out on heroin, and nobody would have anything to fucking do with me. You know, not my family, not my friends. And I bumped into Christian somewhere, and Christian was like, dude, come with me, you know? And, you know, he had an apartment with his girlfriend who was pregnant at the time with his son, and, you know, and he was supposed to be getting his shit together. They would let me crash on their couch. You know, as long as I didn't shoot dope in the house was the one rule, which I broke every time I walked in the fucking door because I'd be like, I gotta use the bathroom. You know, but Christian was still like, oh, it's fucking Grasso, it's cool, he's cool. You know, and I'd go over there and, you know, I'd go down and he'd go up and we'd play darts and see who won. And we'd do that for days. He was smoking speed and playing darts, that was his trip, you know.
A lot of skaters like, dude, I saw Christian, he looked like shit. You know, he's skating around town with a dartboard in his hand.
And whittling on skateboards.
He always carried a little wooden rasp file that every time he got a new board, he'd be carving away these little notches in it all the time and just whittling away. We'd be skating for hours going, come on, Christian, come on. No, I'm still working on my notch.
I remember he was trying to sand his shape down on the coping. I was like, what's this guy doing?
Gonna make the new shape that's gonna change, you know. Because we all bought into, we bought into our bullshit. We bought into what everybody told us we were, you know, because you've been told that you're fucking so-and-so, the maker of the hammerhead. In his fucking drug psychosis later on, he's got a file and a fucking, you know, a buck knife in his hand thinking, all I gotta do is make that one shape, that new shape that's gonna change the face of skateboarding, and I'll be back in the game.
And I know that if you don't stop doing that drug, you're gonna die, or it's gonna, you do it for so long and you're gonna stay like that. I see guys that are spun.
We'd try to do a little intervention with him and talk to him and try to straighten him out.
Max Berlick calls. He's all, hey, I want you to try and get a hold of Christian because I want to come down. I want to kidnap him.
When we got him here, all his friends were around, you know?
And Christian just starts going off at Perlick. He's all, I'm not going, this and that.
He ended up turning it around, saying that we were fucked up for doing that to him, you know? And he ended up making us feel like shit, and he walked away.
You know, we were lost, and I mean, I was totally lost, and Christian was there when nobody else was, and I'd gone to jail, and nobody would do anything for me, and I called him from a street corner at like 5 in the morning, and he got some speed freak dudes he was with to fucking drive him up there and pick me up, and fucking he put money in. I was dope sick. He put money in my hand. He drove me down to, you know, to meet my connection, got me dope to get well. And, you know, and he was going to talk to me, you know, you come with me, I'm going to take care of this. You know, he couldn't take care of himself at the time, but he was gonna take care of me. I promptly OD'd at his speed dealer's house, and he fucking scooped me up, put me in a car, and drove me back to his girlfriend's house, and they fucking sprawled me out all blue on the couch, took my pulse. I was out for 2 days. I was lucky I woke up. And when I came to, he was like sitting there with his torch, doing his thing, smoking his speed, and he was like, you know, you can't be doing this. You know, you're fucking blowing it. You know, this isn't the way it is. And I got really, really pissed off when we had words. And I was like, who the fuck do you think you are? You know, you're a fucking junkie just like me. You're not Christian Hosoi anymore. You're a fucking speed freak on the streets of Huntington Beach. You know, you just got it better because you got this girl here to take care of you. You know, and give me some fucking money and I gotta go. And he was like, here you go. We'll be here. You know? And that really touched me. You know, for where I was at, shortly thereafter I started to get clean and try to, you know, I went into rehab and tried to figure out what the fuck what am I gonna do with my life? Because it's, for me, you know, I'm gonna die here. And, you know, and he was right there. Different drug, but right there, doing the same behaviors.
99, 2000 was when it all finally caught up to him.
I was in Long Beach in the bar, and it was Mickey Reyes. I'm at the bar, I just got there, and I look over and I see Mickey Reyes, and he's all, Eddie, did you hear what happened to Christian? And right there, I was like, whoa. He's dead, you know? I start crying, I was like, fuck.
I was at home in Virginia. I got a phone call from my brother who said, your son just got arrested at the Honolulu International Airport.
On January 26, 2000, Christian was arrested and charged with possession of crystal methamphetamine with intent to distribute. He was caught with over a pound of meth.
Yeah, I come home to my studio in Waimanalo, my barn, and I knew it was, you know, he was doing the carrying. He said he wasn't going to do it anymore, so just, you know, going to quit it, so there's a worry there, right, because you know.
Oh, you knew pre-notion that he was doing that?
Yeah.
You had a talk with him about it?
No.
How did you know?
Because he came into town and he's working it.
You had to see him and see his condition.
Yeah. So when are you gonna get off of it? Oh, soon. So you gotta, there it is, you know, I'm gonna get off of it. So that's not get off of it right now, this minute, you know? You can't do that.
Were you getting high with him with speed?
Mm-hmm.
You guys were getting high together? Were you smoking it with them, snorting it with them? In what form were you guys doing crystal meth?
Yeah, you smoke meth, Chris. Ice, you smoke it.
Did you actually pass the pipe back to each other and get high?
Yeah.
What was going on in your head?
Anyway, we don't got no regrets, and I don't. You know, I sold my land in Hawaii to pay for a lawyer who ripped us off. I think everything that's good, bad, or indifferent in the past always leads to what we are in the present.
I went into prison, I walked in and there was guys there, because it's Hawaii, that were like, no way, Christian Hosoi's here. And they were like, yo, what's up? You know, they knew who I was already. And I was like, what is going on? They're in there for murder now. Okay, they're looking at life without. Okay, and I'm going, so what is the deal with my case? And they told me, and I just went, why me?
Whenever anyone's arrested in the federal system, they're offered a deal. They're offered a deal to cooperate, to work with the government, to assist in prosecuting other people. That's the first thing that happens. It's typically the case because the penalties in the federal drug system, the federal criminal system, are terrible. If he had been arrested for the same thing in state court, albeit in California or Hawaii, he would have looked at immediate probation or something close to it, even with prior convictions. And it makes no difference your involvement in the case, whether you were a courier, or you were a minimal player, or you were a significant distributor. It really depends on how the government uses you in the end. And the only way to avoid that in the federal system is you cooperate. His response was, I'm not going to rat anyone out, I'm not going to point the finger at anyone, and he paid the price. The ultimate irony is that everyone else around him ratted him out. Everyone else around him had no problem pointing the finger at him. So when push came to shove, he was left out in the cold.
Jennifer Lee was dating Christian at the time of his arrest.
I think I was 19 when I first met him. My girlfriend had this photo album with all their friends and everything, and she had a picture of this guy in there, and I thought he was like the hottest thing ever, all dirty, grungy, and he just looked really cute to me. I said, who is that guy? I want to meet him. So she's like, oh, that's my friend Christian, he skates. And I'm like, I don't care what he does, who he is, like, I have to meet him. I called him for about a week, and then he came over, and then he never left. Christian was going to Hawaii, and he asked me to go, and I said yeah, because I did not want to go home on drugs, so I went with him. You know, a week had gone by, and I'm sitting there waiting for him, curling my hair, you know, for like 3 days, and I called the guy, I'm like, where is Christian? You know, it's been a week already. He said it was gonna take 1 day. So he's like, just don't call here, da-da-da. I'm like, okay, fine. So I waited and waited and waited, and I got a phone call.
I said, babe, I'm looking at 10 years. It's a done deal. I heard it from everyone in here. It's not like I just heard it from the DA, you know, they said in here, that's what I'm looking at. And you know, in your heart, in your mind, you can't even, there's nothing you can really feel or do. You're just like, this isn't happening. You don't want to face the music. You're like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Being who I was, you know, I didn't know how tough I was till I had to face that and just say, look, what am I gonna do? This is for real. I was like, this is not a dream. This is really happening. I had to tell myself again. And then my girlfriend saying, Christian, you gotta trust in God. She said, you know what? I love you and we're gonna try to get through this. And I just went, you know what? I don't know. My nickname was Christ since '85. I made up the Christ era in the late '80s. Now it's the year 2000, and they're telling me to trust in God. And I didn't know God. When I prayed to him in prayer, crying out to him, going, if you're real, come into my life. I'm 3 days in jail, and I'm on my knees in my bunk going, just give me bail. I just want to handle my, you know, take care of things, tell my girlfriend later, you know, or if she wants to stay with me or not, say later to my family, and I'll come back and I'll do the time. I even said that. I was going, I need a Bible, I need a Bible. And the guy next to me goes, he's been in 5 years already. He just did his Fed time, and now he's gonna go do his state time, another 5 years for state. And he's just in transit, and he's like, oh, here, you wanna use my Bible? And as I went into my room, I went, man, this is the first time I'm going to open up a Bible. I opened it up and saw all these underlines, markers, notes on the sides. I saw Post-its in there with things that he wrote and on every page, and I was like, what is this all about? I thought it was just a book. Genesis, Exodus to Revelation and John, I mean, they didn't appeal to me. Isaiah, Psalms, what is Psalms and Proverbs? I had no clue. It didn't mean anything when I read the title of the book. But when I got to Kings, it said Kings. I said, now this might be something interesting. And so I started in 1 Kings and just ripped through that whole thing that night and just was like, started to get a clue of who God was by watching how he worked in King David's life and how he worked in Solomon's life. And we know of all the stories of these guys, David and Goliath. But when I really read it in the Bible, it was like God speaking his truth to me and me just closing off the world and focusing on God. And that was the first week that I was in prison. And I let go of everything and just said, I have to do this. And that was that's where I got my strength from.
Explain why the camera's so shaky.
I don't know, maybe my buddy's a little sketchy right now.
I think probably God was the only one who could intervene, and this was the only way he could do it.
Everyone was like, oh, it's such a tragedy, it's such a tragedy. I go, they just saved his fucking life. They just saved his fucking life. It was the best thing that could ever happen to him.
It's what you make out of it too. You go to jail, you can make your experience there not such a bad thing by going to school, getting your GED, doing whatever, keeping busy, working. So jail's not the worst place to be in the world, and for a lot of people, it's probably a good place for some guys to go. I know for me, it was a good place to go.
It would almost be as though we weren't in prison.
Who laughs behind bars? Who laughs behind bars?
Who laughs behind bars? Men that are free.
It was like the first day, there was no way I could have left him. And, I got that question a lot, like, why? You're so young, how can you wait? And in my eyes, like, when you love someone so much, like, I knew that I would be spending the rest of my life with this man. He's everything that I wanted, and I knew that if I waited, when he got out, it would be everything that a woman wants in a man.
On June 19th, 2001, the judge who was to sentence Christian performed the ceremony in court.
And our lawyer told us that that's the first time he's seen that judge smile in 15 years.
A lot of people say, hey, a relationship in prison makes your time go by slow and it's hard. But for me, the relationship makes my time go by fast and easy.
Jennifer Hosoi championed her husband's cause while he served his sentence, raising funds for his defense and appeals, as well as coordinating a community outreach program in Christian's name.
We had to start raising money for lawyers and stuff, and Christian told me to call one of his friends, Dave Duncan.
I actually went to the industry and asked all the pros that I knew and all the company owners I knew, hey, can you give a couple grand to help Christian out with his lawyer fees?
I wrote letters of support for Christian when he was in prison and made a couple of small donations. But for the most part, I was just appealing to the judge and the DA to say, look, he can do much more good out of jail than in jail.
And I was just shocked, how they were there for Christian, they were there for me, and they would always just, whatever he needed, they gave it to him.
After several years of legal efforts, Christian's 10-year sentence was reduced, and Christian Hosoi was going to be free.
Welcome back, Christian. Join us. Man, miss the guys.
Christian Hosoi, what do you think so far, Christian? Man, it's just incredible watching these guys run. For the mid-twins 540.
Anyway, coming at you. What do you say, Los Angeles making history right now? D-Wade trying to take the lead. He can do it right now if you guys cheer for him. He's coming out of the gate looking at the big 70-foot gap. What do you say, LA? Make some noise. Huge. Look at that with two solar landing. Pulling off just right on the twice there. That's a dedication to Christian.
It just made sense. Like if you looked at the scenario, the situation with Christian there, and you know, I didn't know what to do, and it all worked out. It was perfect timing, and you know, the fact that Christian was saluted or respected in front of everybody, I think that to me was important too. That was just as good as winning the medal.
Who's the best skater of all time?
My dad.
What's your dad's name?
My dad's name is Christian Hosoi.
What's your name?
Rhythm.
Rhythm what?
Rhythm Hosoi.
You know, when I was younger, when I was doing everything that I did, being a professional skater, to me, I was the coolest guy in town. You know, as you see, you know, it's all about girls, you know, drinking, and all that other stuff that goes with it. And it's empty. I did that for years upon years, and there was no peace in it. I look back, and there is no peace that compares to the joy and the relationship and the greatness of having a relationship and knowing Jesus Christ. I guess we all make choices in our life that take us down a road that we sometimes don't want to go down, but when I went down them, I think today it's going to be a part of, you know, the things that I can discuss with people to hopefully help them cope with those things in life. There's just so much I want to say, but I'm going to be in this ministry. I'm going to be speaking as much as God will allow me. So, you know, this isn't the end of it. This is just the beginning, okay? And I thank Jesus for that.
A legend is like something really old that skateboards. My dad's a legend.
What defines a legend? I think the people define a legend. I think that there's not one characteristic that makes a legend. I think it has to be up to the people to create the legend, just like all the legends before. Either people pay heed to it or they're not really having it. Like Scott Baio is not a legend. Some people may think so, but fucking Charles in Charge is not a legend, right? But someone like Bruce Lee, or Johnny Cash, or Sid Vicious, or Elvis, or Christian, who are legends, people gotta make them that.
It's hard to say how Christian impacted it because there's probably 100,000 new skaters because of him. You know, who saw him when they were tiny kids and they're still skating now.
And then those kids went on to become the top pros nowadays.
Always looked up to you, the hottest shit ever. Inspired me to do what I do now, basically, and appreciate everything you've done for the sport, and it's fucking badass.
His contribution to skating is unsurpassed.
Hosoi just means more than really the tricks he did. He means more than the amount of money he made. He means more than the fashion and the flair he brought to it. He put it all together, he is skateboarding.
He could do no wrong on a skateboard.
Nobody went higher, smoother than him ever.
He could skate anything, everything at any given time.
He could do it blind, you know, with his hands tied behind his back. It was just in him.
I don't understand. I mean, when I go to sleep at night, I dream that I could skate that smooth.
There was Jean-Michel Basquiat, then there was Christian Hosoi, then there was Axl Rose. You know what I mean? Like,
you got your Michael Jordans, your Tiger Woods, and you got your Christian Hosoi.
Christian taught me how to do backside airs on vert.
He taught me how to do backside ollie.
Christian taught me to relax. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Christian.
He went way out of his way to show me that he was my friend when I thought he wasn't my friend.
Christian, in my book, is my all-time favorite skateboarder. The most naturally talented skateboarder I've ever seen.
The most stylish skater that ever lived.
Christian Hosoi is the best skateboarder ever to set foot on a skateboard.
What can I say? He's Christian Hosoi, the best natural skateboarder that was ever born.
Yeah, I think so. I think Christian is definitely a legend, you know what I mean? And what does he do again?
And Christian defines a legend for sure.
Hosoi's a legend.
Christian Hosoi will be a legend in skateboarding.
It's undeniable.
The ultimate, stylish, full blast, full speed, hardcore skateboarder.
He represents like the epitome of what a skateboarder is.
I mean, it's just like the essence of skating.
When you look at a certain era in skateboarding, there's only a couple names that will still be mentioned, and his will be one of those.
Nobody will ever be able to do a layback grind like Christian does, and there'll be nobody that will ever do a method air as good as him, or a crossbone lean air, or a Madonna, or a Benihana, or a backside tail grab, or a frontside tail grab.
Although he's got to remember that I did teach him on a skateboard.
Yeah.
Straight out.